So, talking about looking ahead, what are you most excited about becoming a father?
Dude, just like honestly, this probably sounds dumb. I just want to know what it looks like. Like, I just want to see him, like,
It's not dumb.
look at what we've
I remember
created.
feeling that way. That's
Man,
awesome.
that's definitely like the immediate thing I'm looking forward to. I'm so curious to see what this little guy's going to look like. I think for me, I enjoy challenging things. I definitely enjoy challenging things, and in my head, it doesn't really matter how much I'm telling myself this is going to be hard. It's probably going to be 10 times harder than I think. So I am
You're gonna be real
mentally
happy.
I'm mentally preparing myself for 100 times worse, right? So it's like, okay, but I think I want to see how this changes my wife and I's relationship for the better too. 'Cause that's another thing that I'm very excited about. It's we've been very lucky to have a life where we've navigated through some very challenging things together. I mean, we had a business together. When I worked at Tesla, I was working 80-hour weeks while we had that freaking business at the same time. We've both had to do things that will keep it between myself and her, but they've been challenging things. And every time we've gone through those, it's been such a beautiful experience because we come out on the other side and we reflect and we're like, man, like how amazing was it that we went through that together and we figured it out, So that's another thing that I'm really looking forward to, is strengthening the bond with my wife. And then and just really, one of the things that I struggle with, and I know this is going to be a struggle for me, but what I'm looking forward to is really making sure that I practice being present, because that's one of my weaknesses, is that I know that I'm not as present as I should be, and I'm especially since my wife got pregnant, I've been able to practice that a little bit more. I've gotten a little bit better, but my default brain space is like, well, I'm thinking about something and I'm somewhere else. I think that's just a dude thing. It's like we're constantly problem solving in our heads, right? Just constant problem solve. I think I take that to a level that's unhealthy, to be completely honest. And so that comes with benefits, with strengths, but it also, the huge weakness is that you kind of forget you exist, and there's the thing that's happening in front of you. So I am excited to sit down and really practice being present, because I think, not that there should be a child as an excuse to be present, because, being present with my wife is also extremely valuable and it's something that I should be doing every day. But I really am looking forward to just experiencing being a father, and feeling everything that comes with it, the good, the bad, the challenging, the difficult. And I want to accept it all. My heart is wide open, y'all. It's ready for it, so yeah, and as I go through it, I'm sure there will be other things that I get excited about. I'm not so far into the, like, oh, I'm curious to see what he's going to be like when he's a teenager, and curious to see what he's going to be like when he's older. What kind of career path he's going to take. Is he going to be an athlete? Are we going to put him in sports and stuff like that? I just want to hold him. I just want to hold him and see where it goes.
That's awesome. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, man, you like challenges, you're gonna love kids, because they're the biggest challenge you'll ever have. But they're gonna get you to the point of feeling like you are an absolute failure, because you're just gonna be failing so much at so many things and losing tempers and doing things that you're like, man, I should have done that, But it is so worth it in that one moment. And you're gonna know these moments when they happen, like your kid's first smile, their first laugh, the first time they look at you and they look at you and say, I love you, with the look, or they touch your face. Oh God, man. I'm telling you, dude, like Subaru commercials make me cry now. I'm a big pansy now. My kids made me a softie.
They got you.
100%. And I don't care. And you're going to love, all the things they love. You're going to think, at first, before kids, you can be like, oh, that looks stupid. But then your kids come around, you're like, oh, that's so cool, You're
going to learn every word to Winnie the Pooh and all that kind of stuff.
Bluey's where it's at, man.
I think Dustin's got a question for you.
Yeah, so the science behind that is really interesting. This experience we were all having, your brain has been rewired by your child and your wife. So the fMRI studies are really cool on it. They've looked at the structure of men's brains, and it changes around the 3 to 6 month mark of their wife being pregnant. So we've always known that women have hormonal changes, oxytocin surges, the amygdala, the fear center increases in size, but only recently have we learned that men's brains change as well. So the hormones in your body, the cuddle hormone specifically, has surged to 3 times its normal level.
I feel it.
Yeah. These feelings you're having of, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, all this, that is all natural. It was designed that way.
Wow.
So, and it'll be like that for probably about 6 months. Your testosterone levels, if you had them tested right now, are critically low. And
they're about to drop to a place where I don't want it to go yet.
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay. I mean, when you think about it, think about our caveman ancestors that were angry when the baby woke them up, but their T was low enough that they didn't kill the kid. So I mean, it's a safety thing. We were built that way for a reason.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but recognize that when you're crying at that Subaru commercial, you're not alone. We all go through that as men.
Well, you're saying I should be getting a TRT injection is when I see that commercial. If I'm crying.
Please don't.
I'm kidding.
For the safety of, exactly. For the safety of your child here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's
that makes perfect sense. I mean, like that's something that I'm fascinated by is like, we've been around for so long. Like there has to be something that we've picked up along the way that either, through evolution or whatever, where, we've become a better version of the thing that's going to ensure that the kid survives for a long time. And having the man, become less likely to kill stuff makes sense, because then you're ensuring that, the wife and the child are going to be also safe. But at the same time, you still are protective and you want to make sure that, you're keeping everybody around and healthy. So yeah, that's I felt it. I've become a lot more, soft in a way, like a little bit more like tender, and I'm not ashamed to say it because it's like I like it. I like feeling this way. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I think a younger version would be like, "That you're being a bitch," blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I love it. It's such a beautiful feeling. It feels beautiful.
Yeah.
Like getting emotional thinking about holding my son for the first time. Like why? That's amazing. That's
and it's
amazing.
an incredibly masculine thing as well.
Yes.
One of George's favorite books is called Tender Warrior. I mean, that's an important side of masculinity.
Write that down.
Yeah, if you get a chance, top 10 book right there. Tender Warrior by Stu. What's his last name, George?
Stu Weber.
Stu Weber.
Weber. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'll send you all my stuff on that. But he talks about the 4 pillars of manhood, of authentic manhood, and the last one is lover, and it's that beating heart that you're describing right now, that fierce feeling you have for your child. That's what motivates all of it, right? All the aggression, all the power, all the leadership, all that kind of those tough, manly things we think about. It's tempered by this compassion, this empathy, this love. And when you're all of those things together, you become the best version of what a man should be. And if you think about all the great people that you've known in your life, they probably showed all of those characters.
Yeah.
The great men you've known personally, right? Maybe they're amazing leaders, but they also know everyone by name. They know about, what sports they like or what their favorite meal is and that kind of stuff. It's this kind of, yin and yang type of thing there where we're expected to be a lot of things, and naturally we kind of gravitate towards one or the other. And so it's kind of building that comprehensiveness. That's such an amazing experience. And honestly, I think being a father really helps men unlock that last pillar to a level that you never would be able to without it. So far to the point that I actually personally get I question men who are in like leadership positions who don't have kids, because I think that their ability to lead is actually a little bit limited because they have not had that feeling, that experience that you've been describing unlocked in them, and then being able to apply that to other people. There's just something that transforms within you. It's an amazing thing. That's
a fascinating point you're making there. And I think so would you describe it as just being significantly more empathetic? Do you think that's part of it too? It's like you're just more in tune with people's just being and emotions and sort of like how they feel and stuff like that, and like seeing things from their perspective. I think that makes so much sense. Like now I wish I had a kid when I was a leader. I mean, I'm definitely proud of what I've done, but it's like it makes so much sense that it would be such a powerful tool for that too. Not you should have a kid just to be a better leader, but it's so fascinating that they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, you should definitely do the things for the right reasons, but I think
of course
it unlocked, like for me, you know, I was active duty. I'm in the National Guard now. I became a company commander after I had children. And I think I was 10 times the commander I would have been if I would have never had a child, because especially when it came to difficult situations like interpersonal things, I had a lot more patience and understanding to actually get to like the heart of the issue, as opposed to just, you know, well, I'm in charge, so do what I say, right? There's a level of growth that occurs within you. But I know Brandon, our podcast philosopher, has some great input probably to this topic, so I'm going to kick it to him.
Yeah,
Man, yes. So, okay. A truly masculine, dangerous man is the quiet poet who's capable of danger. There's a couple books that talk about this, like The Tender Warrior by Stu Weber. There's The Warrior Poet by John Lovell. And one of the things that they talk about is that you learn to kill your ego. You learn to be a man of humility, a man of tempered strength. So you are capable of being very dangerous, but you are very tempered, and you don't allow people to see that side. And most especially what it does when you have kids is it hones that ability. So your kids will never see the dangerous side of you unless you're protecting them, right? But they'll always see that soft, loving, empathetic, compassionate side of you. And so what being a father does is it hones that side, and then you use that when you're out in the world. Because if you've got a guy that you see it all the time, they've got the knockout UFC t-shirts, bunch of tats, and they think they're the most dangerous guy in the world. And it's like, there's guys that practice jujitsu and that are sharp in the mind and can outsmart those guys, and they're super deadly, like Navy SEALs, Green Berets, whatever, and they're dead quiet, and they are always watching the room, and they're not bragging, and they're humble. Yeah. And those are the truly dangerous men in this world. And so being empathetic hones that. And I think a truly masculine man has both sides of that. He's very balanced, both mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Brandon, I don't appreciate you making fun of my cool tap out shirt.
That thing still exists.
Dustin had wings on the back of his shirt.
Like 2009.
Dustin had the wings. He was like,
yeah, 2009 called it. Wants its shirt back.
No, Brandon. So Brandon's 100% right, because I'm telling you right now. I joked about it a little bit earlier, but I'm not joking. Like, you are gonna find that when you have a child to protect that you love so deeply, because I've said this before on our podcast, this is the first human being you're ever going to have an unconditional love with, where you have zero walls, because you go into this relationship with no trust issues, no previous traumas that are going to affect it. It's literally fresh and fresh love and love. It is literally the most pure love you're ever going to experience. And you will protect that with everything you have. So like before a child, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this situation, whatever, it is what it is. But if it's against your child, man, I'm going to tell you what, you'll rip someone's head off, not think twice about it. I'm just saying, like, you're going to feel those things, because I promise you, your kid is worth your own life. And that's something that you don't feel until you experience that.
For sure. No, I appreciate that. It's funny listening to Brandon describe that, what masculinity really, how it's defined. And I posed I just stuck out to me, because I don't remember what we saw, but it was something on, my wife and I were watching something. I forget what it was, but basically it was like one of these dudes that was like, very show offy, like kind of like what you described. And I was like, because I never, sometimes I ask my wife the most random questions, because I'm just like, I'm sure you guys, everybody does it. It's like, I'm just like wondering, but like, I don't think I ever asked my wife what she thinks masculinity is. Right. And I'm like when you see that, does that look masculine? It's like, no, that looks like he is insecure. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, how do you define masculinity? And she said something very, very similar to what you said. She's like, somebody who's very strong, who doesn't have to use it. Somebody who has a lot of strength, who doesn't have to use it. And I'm like, okay, I never viewed it in that way, because in my head, from how I was, growing up and who I was around, masculine is like, quote unquote alpha male, which is the guy that seems like he's an alpha, like he's always showing all this stuff. And in my head, I'm like, okay, like what does that even mean? I didn't even know what to make of it, because then I'm like thinking about myself, okay, I'm a man, but like, am I alpha? And if I'm not alpha, am I automatically beta? Like, am I just like is no one going to want me kind of thing? And then like, it's so fascinating you bring that up, because it's kind of like, it makes so much sense. Because, now that when she told me that, I started to like make a considered effort to like try and figure out how men carried themselves in places. Just something that I don't know why, but I'm like, wow, I can pick it up a lot more. I can sort of pick out when somebody's like going out of their way to appear masculine to men that just are masculine. Like, you don't even have to try to be masculine. You just are, you know? Right. And it's like, that's fascinating. It's so interesting how having a child can like activate those things. I mean, it makes so much sense. My God, it makes so much sense. But it's like, it's such a mind-blowing thing to like think through now, you know, because I haven't felt those feelings deeply yet. But it's almost like y'all are telling me like, just wait until just wait. It's coming.
You can certainly start. It sounds like you've done a lot of self-study already, and you should. But what your personal journey is not unique. That's the problem. Is most men our age and younger, we're not taught what a man is, like truly. Yeah. Very select. I think a very small percentage of our generation actually knows when they turn like 18 what it means to be a man. We don't.
Have a false impression of it, I feel like.
I think we have a very diluted, one-dimensional sense of what a man is, and it's be Arnold Schwarzenegger in an action movie, right? Yeah. Or you F the prom queen type of thing. It's like, okay, great, that's
being a guy with no emotional intelligence.
I just dated myself by that reference, but anyway, that's why I'm starting over the shoulder. That right there is built around teaching what authentic manhood is, and unfortunately our society, our modern society, sucks at it. Ancient cultures were amazing at it. Like you can look back at, there's a great book actually called Tribe by Sebastian Junger. He kind of goes into that. It's a pretty interesting quick read. But how can cultures that can't even have electricity have manhood mastered? Right. Yeah. Maybe we're missing something in so there's some really interesting things to unpack in the way we live our modern lives. And so that's something for you. You're going to have a son. And Dustin has really gone down this rabbit hole about like incorporating rites of passage in his experience, raising from boyhood to manhood, and how important that is. And think about yourself. Did you have any rites of passage? Like, when did you know I'm a man now? You probably didn't, right? You're just like, oh, I guess I've got a job and I've had
Depending
sex.
on who you talk, they don't even know what a man is.
I guess I'm a man now, right?
Right. Yeah. That's a great point.
How pathetic. Like, we all missed out, Like, we didn't have that moment where we're like, okay, I still have mountains to learn, but I know now, the people who matter to me now recognize me as a man. Like, that is something that's primally built into us, and to deny that is, we have the culture we have today because we've denied this. We have cut it from our experience. So, I think it's good that you're aware of this now, because you can start future casting for your boy to do better for him,
Yeah, for sure. I think what's really interesting about that is like, I think the reason why I'm fortunate to have thought about some of that stuff, is that because I had the time to sit down and think about those things. Whereas I think a lot of men either, they start without having the true guidance, right? And then the example that you gave, which is so brilliant, is like, men back in, 500,000, 10,000 years ago, they seem to figure out what masculinity is. But why is that? Because they had the time to sit down and figure out what masculinity is, because then they have this stupid freaking thing in front of their phone, the face, telling them what masculinity is, right? Yeah. Well, like, which is optimized to make our dopamine go through the roof and to make them money, right? And I feel like a lot of the masculine culture is like tied to that dynamic. And so it's so crazy how important time and self-reflection is, I feel like, to really gain an understanding and a solid footing of what's really required to be good at anything, let alone parenting,
Yeah. And I here's the quote that's going to get you. Go external for possible dangers, not validation. That's where our society is missing. So they are going outside for the validation externally. instead of looking inward. And instead, they should be looking externally for lessons to be learned and lessons of like what's dangerous outside, because your validation should not come from anybody else. Period.
This is just a segment from the incredible episode we recorded with Farzad. Make sure you check out the full episode. Link is in the description. While you're here, also make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel and click that bell so that you get all notifications when we release new episodes just like this one. We will see you in the next one.